Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Winnebago County Board meeting to order. Tonight is Thursday, April 13th, 2023. It's a little shortly after 6 p.m. So tonight's invocation and pledge allegiance is going to be by Imam El-Gobashi on behalf of board member Tim Neighbors. Could everyone stand, please, and come forward?
I will pray in Arabic first and in English after that. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قل اللهم مالك الملك تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء بيدك الخير إنك على كل شيء قدير. Our Lord, you have the ownership. Everything belongs to you, the ownership of this heaven and the earth and the people and everything that exists. You give the power to whomever you want, and you take it away from whomever you want. Bless this meeting. Bless these ladies and gentlemen. Guide them so they will take the right decision. Help them and help all our people. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Imam. Very nice. Mr. Thompson, is there any agenda announcements this evening?
No changes to the agenda, thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Gummo, can you please call the roll?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will start with Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Lindmark. Mr. McCarthy. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Neighbors. Mr. Penny. Mr. Salgado. Mr. Scroll. Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Tassoni. Mr. Thompson. Here. Mr. Webster. Mr. Arena. Mr. Booker. Present. Mr. Butita. Here. Mrs. Crosby. Here. Ms. Fellers. Present. Ms. Gorel. Present. Mr. Gravera. Present. Ms. Hansert. Thank you all. Mr. Chairman, that is 19 board members present, 1 board member absent.
Very good, thank you. We do have a quorum this evening. Move on to item number 5. We have 2 public participation this evening. I'm going to read the statement first. First, comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may not address zoning matters which are pending before the ZBA, Zoning Committee, or the County Board. Personnel matters or pending or threatened litigation may not be addressed in open session. An individual may speak a maximum of 3 times per calendar year on the same topic. This prohibition shall include the repetition of the same topic in a statement on what is purported to be a different topic. Personal attacks or inappropriate language of any sort will not be tolerated. Okay, so this evening we have Nancy Edwardson, if you want to come forward.
Hello. Wanted to speak tonight about animal services. Several issues I found out that are very unethical. That's the word I have to use because it is. the director, I shall not mention the name, I was very poorly impressed with how he treated me over the phone. I've spoken with him 2 or 3 times in the last 2 years. Just, I'm a very avid animal lover, like most of you here in the county boardroom tonight. Most all of us, I'd say 98% of you are animal lovers. And I've had quite a few animals, quite a few, good God. And cats and dogs. The man that lives with me, Jeff, was treated very poorly. Trying to say that you're 8 months behind on your vaccination shot for your animal. Excuse me? Inappropriate. Because you know what? That may be, you're supposed to do it once per year. We know that. We know the laws. I know all the laws regarding issues and ordinances in the county. I know every one of them, actually, as far as, okay, so I'm really ticked off tonight, real ticked off. So then the recent experience with the woman in Loves Park that had her animal put down, euthanized, it's all over the news for no reason, just because they thought it had a tumor. Well, they had no idea whether it was malignant or not. And so they took it to the Emergency Animal Services Center at Morsay Drive, and put the dog down. And the woman did not have a chance to claim her dog. And the director of Animal Services let it be done, had the dog delivered over there for a tumor that they could not prove whether it was malignant or not. Now, I'm medically trained myself. Yeah, I'm hot under the collar. I'm really hot under the collar. Something has to be done about this. And I would say that he should resign. Is my time up, Joe?
Not at this moment, but soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate that.
Thank you. 30 seconds.
Yeah. So wrapping this up quickly, within 30 seconds, I would say that something has to be done, and I'm going to see to it that something does get done about this, because he is under contract, but let's cut him off. Let's cut his contract. Let's cut him now.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Reverend Earl Dotson, Sr.
The Bible. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. This elemental love of the soil, people, and general environment that bore and shaped one is expressed here. This nostalgia and longing for one's roots and identity takes many forms, but it is an elemental sentiment of the human heart, a natural mysticism, but it is real and nothing to apologize for. Observing this fundamental dynamic of the American-European situation, one sees migrants from many nations fighting for and developing their national interests inside America, simultaneously maintaining their economic, political, cultural, and social relationship with their country of origin. Look at the Kennedys, the Clintons in Ireland, as well as President Biden, who is there now, the Bushes in England, Mark Rich in Israel. He left America owing $48 million in taxes, but he was granted a pardon by Bill Clinton after his ex-wife made a donation or a bribe to the Clinton Library, and the list goes on. But no such possibility existed for Africans who had been dragged from Africa, beaten, bred, raped, and degraded, with families ripped apart and all doors of opportunities closed. Once considered 3/5 of a person to determine voting rights for white men. And it goes on today. Arizona, Texas, Mississippi, even Illinois. I am proud of being involved with many blacks in Chicago and elected the next mayor, a young black man that many white Democrats fought bitterly against, but we prevailed. You won't find that in Rockford, as most of the blacks here have a childlike dependence on others' expectations and estimates of them that has determined their personality development. They do not know who they are. All blacks should try and connect and reconnect with Mother Africa. This Easter Sunday in St. Louis, Missouri, I had an inspiring, emotional, religious, and cultural African experience with most recent migrants from the Congo involving Victory Church here in Rockford, for whom we are working to get an $8 million building built on South Main Street, complementing the Heritage Museum across the street, giving a significant African presence on South Main. My Chicago allies, Congressman Danny Davis and Jonathan Jackson, Reverend Jackson's son, who helped elect Johnson mayor of Chicago, have promised to work with us to free up funds from this and other West Side Rockford developments. Jesse White, the former Secretary of State, who voted for the white guy in Chicago, have conscious blacks in Chicago saying, hey, Reverend Dawson, guess what we call him now? What? Just white. Things will improve here as well. Watch and see.
Thank you. All right, moving on our agenda, is number 6, the approval of minutes. May I entertain a motion to approve the March 9th and lay over the March 23rd minutes. We got a motion by Mr. Guevara and a second by Mr. Butita. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So let's just hold that motion and the second. And Mr. Butita.
Thank you. Annually, the county supports keep Northern Illinois beautiful, and this year we're doing the same. And if the board permits, I'd like to have Frank Manzullo just speak and announce the event that's coming up in the next few weeks.
Is there any objection from any board members to allow Mr. Manzullo to address the board? All right. Mr. Manzullo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board, I'm Frank Manzullo from Keeping Northern Illinois Beautiful. And I'm not here to complain, but I'm here to commend the county board for over the years of support with equipment, manpower, and money to make the Great American Cleanup so successful. It's our 34th year, and I'm proud to say that it's now the biggest organization in the state of Illinois, volunteer of its type. We'll have 1,000 to 1,500 volunteers picking up litter and trash for the whole county. I just personally want to thank you, Lori, who got me involved in this many, many years ago with the organization, and just thank you. I want to express all that from all of our board to you for this wonderful county board for getting this community cleaned up. Right? Thank you.
Mr. Manzullo, and thank you for what you do also. Okay, so back to the approval of minutes. We did have a motion and a second to approve and lay over. Is there any discussion on that motion to approve and lay over the minutes? Hearing none, is there any board members opposed to those motions? Good, please cast yes for all members present. Number 7 is the consent agenda. May I entertain a motion to approve the raffle report and the auditor's report this evening? We got Mr. Hoffman and Ms. Gorel seconds that motion. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Very good. Are there board members opposed to that motion to approve? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Number 8 are the appointments. Per county board rules, the board chairman appointments require a 30-day layover unless there is a suspension of the rule. Tonight, we place up for the board of review. The annual compensation is $27,809.86. Ms. Pamela Cunningham, that is a reappointment this evening. Her term would be from May 2023 to May 2025. Second is Mr. Jay Douthard, also a reappointment, and that term is from May 2023 to May 2025. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9, reports of standing committees. First is the Finance Committee. Mr. Butita.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item we have tonight is a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2024 budget policy, and I'd like to have this held over to the next meeting. The revised version was just distributed to the board, so a couple more
Very
weeks to
good.
review
Committee-
that, please.
Yep, committee chair is laying that item over. Mr. Butita.
The next item is an ordinance for the budget amendment for a buyer position and I'd like to suspend the rules for that.
Move to suspend by Mr. Butita. Is there a second? Mr. Thompson seconds that motion. Are there any board members opposed to the suspension of the rule? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita, the rules are suspended.
All right, then we have an ordinance before us for a budget amendment for a buyer position, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Butita, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Very good. Is there any board members opposed to this ordinance? Mr. Guevara, in opposition. All the rest are yes. Mr. Butita.
Next, we have a resolution to approve the payment of stipends to the regional superintendent. Oh, I'm sorry, let me back up. We have a resolution authorizing a salary adjustment for the Winnebago County Supervisor of Assessments, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Butita. Is there a second? Mr. Thompson seconds that motion. Is there any discussion on item number 4? Very good. Are there any board members opposed to that resolution? Mr. Guevara is in opposition. The rest are yes. Mr. Butita.
Next, we have a resolution to approve payment of stipends to the regional superintendent and the assistant regional superintendent of schools, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Butita, seconded by Ms. Crosby. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Mr. Arena.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm just curious if, did we look into what other, is this gentleman underpaid compared to other districts around the state? Do we know?
Staff members can answer that question. Mr. Thompson?
I don't have comparable salaries in front of me. I know we looked at some of our neighboring counties, and I think it's on par, it's on average. I know that Lake County and DuPage County both provide the stipends, which are allowed by state statute. The salaries for the regional superintendent and the assistant superintendent are both compensated at 100% by the state of Illinois. They're elected. The superintendent's position is an elected position. He's a state employee, and his salary is 100% compensated by the state of Illinois, along with the assistant superintendent. And the Illinois state statute allows county boards the discretion to compensate both of these positions with additional stipends.
So is
Just a
this,
little background.
okay, thank you for that. So what's before us tonight is just a commitment for one time, right? It's not, each year we would have to reapprove this stipend?
It's an annual stipend so every year the superintendents or the Regional Office of Education is the name of the office, their annual budget comes in front of the county board. So each year when you approve the budget, you would be able to reaffirm or remove the stipend going forward. So it's an annual stipend. The superintendent will, when he submits his annual budget to the board, it will include that stipend as part of his budget submission. It'll be the prerogative of the board to retain the stipend or remove it at that point.
Thank you. So my concern is that this is just going to become buried in our procedures, and this board is aware of it. Future boards, eventually it'll fall off the radar, and this will become something that we're just doing year in and year out. And I don't know if I feel comfortable with it, because to me it feels like rather than the state taking ownership of this and making sure that they're properly paying this state employee, they're passing the buck onto county boards and saying, well, if you want them to be paid more, you pay it from your general fund. So if it was something that we could Could it be structured so that it has to come before the board every year as a separate item?
Certainly, when the board reviews the annual budget submission, that could be discussed, or it could be highlighted in the budget so that the board's fully aware when you approve the budget that that's included. So when you, just like any other department's budget, when you approve it, the board has full discretion to change or modify, increase, decrease departments' budgets.
So this is going to raise his pay from 125 a year to 150 a year?
Correct.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Yep.
So call on Mr. Arena, or Mr. Webster, but if Mr. Scott here, Regional Superintendent, is in the audience, if anyone has any questions for him, we could call on him. Mr. Webster.
Yeah, my feelings are along the lines of what Mr. Arena was just asking the questions about. And the term line item came into my head there about something that we should be looking at to see how, and discussing how we feel about that. If the salary is set by the state, then I don't know why we would come up with an additional stipend. And does that additional stipend increase the salary to the point where thereby it increases the pension and the pension contributions and all of that as well? And so, you know, I think we should, if this doesn't need to be voted on tonight, I think, do we? It doesn't. Well, then, perhaps we could make a motion to lay it over here and for more discussion and get more answers.
Very good.
So
Mr.
as a
Gutierrez.
point of information on this resolution, this does pertain to the 2024 budget. So we are kind of ahead of the curve as far as approving it at this point in time.
Okay, I'm going to let the board members, Mr. Bloomquist has raised his hand to address the board. If you would allow him, we could do that at any time if you would allow. Ms. Fellers.
It's my understanding this position has supervisory responsibilities over both Boone and Winnebago County. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's a Winnebago Boone Office of Regional Education, and Boone County does contribute a portion of the budget. They pay for a portion of the budget, and then by doing so, they will, in addition, pick up a portion of this salary as well, and the stipend.
So what is their participation in this?
I don't have the, I mean, do you have the dollar amount? I don't have the percentage in front of me.
It's based on the EAV of the district that's in Winnebago and the EAV that's in Boone County. We can, if this is laid over, we can pull that information together for the board for consideration.
Thank you. I would like to see an equitable participation from Boone County before we vote on this. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Mr. Neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also like to understand the board's concern on our protocol on what we would do as far as the pay and the stipend and establishing that. But I also want the board not to deter away from the fact that in the superintendent role, we still want quality in the position. So if we try to keep it just at state level, that does not necessarily mean we're going to keep quality in that position. So we still have to be competitive with our wages, and I just want the board to remember that, to keep a good superintendent there.
Thank you, Mr. Neighbors. Ms. Gorel.
I would just like to know what they use the stipend for. Is it part of their salary, or is it for their expenses outside of their salary?
Would the board like to hear from Mr. Bloomquist, who's here?
Yes. No,
Yes?
I suggested a motion for a layover.
Yeah, but it didn't get a second.
No, there has been no motion to lay over at this time.
Well, all right. I'd make a motion to lay it over.
Okay, so there is a friendly amendment to lay over this item. Is there a second? Mr. Arena seconds that motion. there any board member discussion on that motion? Ms. Fellers?
If we lay this over, does that mean we can't hear from him? Or does that mean that the discussion is over?
I will allow him to speak. The board has allowed him to
Okay, great, thank you. That was my concern.
Yeah. Any other discussion on the motion to lay over? Hearing none. Are there any board members opposed to the layover? Ms. Crosby is opposed. The rest are a yes. Thank you. Motion has been approved, layover. Would you like to speak, Mr. Bloomquist? Yes. To address some of the questions? You can come on up.
I didn't want to hear him drag this out anymore. I didn't want to hear him speak and drag this out.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board, for the opportunity to take a minute just to answer some of the questions that have come up. The State Board of Education sets the state minimum pay for all regional superintendents across the state based on the size of the counties and the population of the counties as a whole. So they determine the base pay minimum of every regional superintendent, regardless of the sizes of our offices, and regardless of the work that we do, and regardless of the staff that we have. As an example, my pay is exactly the same as the pay of the superintendent in McHenry County that has a staff of 5 people, and we have a staff of 100, and we have a staff that serves 300 students in the biggest regional alternative school in the state. We have a staff of 11 that are serving nearly 800 students that are truants, nearly 800 court cases a year in truancy office. So we are one of the biggest regional offices in the state of Illinois. And that is why this provision is in school code. The state says the base pay minimum for the work that we have to do in school code is worth this level. Based on the work that we do and the sizes of our staff, they give the county boards the opportunity to provide an additional stipend for the work that we do and the sizes that we are. As Mr. Thompson has shared, 100% of my salary is from the State Board of Education. I'm not an employee of the county board at all. The county board doesn't contribute. The county doesn't contribute to my normal salary, nor my pension, nor my benefits. This is a stipend in addition to it. One of the questions was, what is the addition to this to the pension system? That is a burden that falls on me because 100% of my pension pay comes out of my own salary or that stipend, as it does now. So there is no burden on that. The other piece that is in the resolution that was presented, I wanted to put, and I worked with the state's attorney's office on a resolution that was going to be what we felt fair, equitable, and sustainable. And what is built into the resolution is that it would come with never asking for an increase in the budget to pay for it. It is up to that $25,000 based on the appropriation of the budget. It doesn't guarantee in the resolution that I will get that every year. And it is subject to the budget that you give us without asking for an amendment, without asking for an increase to be able to take care of it. If the money is there after we cover the expenses of what we do for everybody else within the organization, within the budget that you provide us, if there is money left over, then and only then would this be able to kick in. So I want to make sure that the board does understand some of that background of this, of why I believe it's fair and equitable and it is sustainable, because it is built into the resolution that we're not going to come back, future regional superintendents aren't going to come back and ask for a big increase to the budget that you have provided to take care of me or the people that follow me. Related to one of the questions with the finance of it, again, it's Boone County is really not involved. The way state statute is for regional offices, school code states that every county board has to provide a certain amount of money to sustain the work that we do within our offices. And as the primary county of largest population, you set 100% of our budget, and then Boone County reimburses you their statutory portion of that based on population. So again, to summarize, the state gives me a base pay minimum based on the work that we do and the size that we are, and outside of Cook County, we are one of the 5th biggest regional offices, and in the work that we do, the staff that we have, and the budget that we have, and the impact that we're making. And school code allows for the county board to provide an additional one because of that work that we do and to be regionally competitive with salaries in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Butita.
Okay, our next ordinance is a budget amendment for procurement of carpool solutions case management system for the state's attorneys and public defenders' offices, and I move that we suspend the rules on this.
Motion to suspend by Mr. Butita, second by Mr. Guevara. Are there any board members opposed to the motion to suspend? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita.
All right, then I move that we approve the ordinance for a budget amendment for the procurement of carpool solution case management system for the state's attorney and public defender's office.
Moved by Mr. Butita, second by Mr. Guevara. Is there any discussion on this ordinance? Good. Are there any board members opposed to the motion to approve this ordinance? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita.
All right, next we have an ordinance for approval of a budget amendment for reimbursable technology expenditures, and we'll lay that over.
Item number 7 is being laid over. Mr. Butita.
Next, we have a resolution approving an agreement between the County of Winnebago and Winnebago Homes Association for emergency rental assistance programs, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Butita. Is there a second? Mr. Arena seconds that motion. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none. Any board members opposed to the motion to approve? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita.
Okay, the last item we have is a resolution authorizing the execution of contracts to temporarily extend the current cable television franchise agreements, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Butita. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita.
That'll do it.
Thank you, Mr. Butita. Next is the Zoning Committee. Mr. Webster.
Thank you, Chairman. We have no report.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Moving on to Economic Development Committee, Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Economic Development Committee has one resolution tonight, and that's the resolution authorizing the execution of a first amendment to the Economic Development Agreement by and between the County of Winnebago, Illinois, and Hamilton Sunstream Corporation, part of Collins Aerospace, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Sweeney. Is there a second by Ms. Hansert? Is there any discussion, Mr. Sweeney, on this item, or any board member discussion? Yes, Mr. Salgado.
Just would like to abstain from them.
Mr. Salgado will be abstaining this evening on this resolution. Is it any board member discussion? All right, hearing none, is there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Sweeney.
That concludes our report. We'll have an Economic Development Committee meeting on this Monday, the 17th at 5:30 in the admin building, 3rd floor.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Operations Administrative Committee, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got two resolutions this evening. The first is a resolution to approve the execution of a renewal agreement with Vision Service Plan for voluntary vision insurance, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald. Is there a second? Ms. Hansert seconds that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The final resolution is for replacement of state's attorneys and public defender case management system, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Guevara. Is there any discussion? Very good. Is there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Move on to Public Works Committee. Mr. Webster.
Public Works Committee has no report this evening either.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Public Safety and Judiciary Committee, Mr. Lindmark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no report. We will be meeting next Wednesday.
Very good, Mr. Lindmark. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. Tonight we have appointments under unfinished business. First is the Rave Board, this is Rockford Area Venues and Entertainment Board. Annual compensation is none. Placing up for passage is Megan McCoy. She is a new appointment to serve the remainder of a 5-year term, which expires June of 2024. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. McCarthy motions and Mr. Sweeney seconds that motion. Is there any discussion on the appointment of Megan McCoy? Ms. Fellers?
I would just like to say that I know and am familiar with the work of Ms. McCoy, and I feel that she's highly qualified for this position, especially with her knowledge of social and digital media.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Fellers. Any further discussion on this appointment? Very good. Are there any board members opposed to this appointment? Very good. Please cast yes for all members present. Next is the Extension Board. Up for appointment is Aaron Booker. It's a reappointment till February of 2025. Mr. Jim Webster is a reappointment to February of 2025. And Mr. Scroll is a new appointment, and that is also for February of 2025. Is there any discussion on these three board members' appointment to the Extension Board? Oh, I did the motion yet? I was ahead of myself. Is there a motion, Mr. Guevara? A second by Mr. Thompson. Sometimes we do need a motion, don't we? All right, is there any discussion on the Extension Board appointments? They need to abstain, right? So all three board members that are being appointed will be abstaining. Are there any other board members opposed to this? None? Okay, please cast yes for all remaining board members. Very good, thank you. That's the appointments. New business. Is there any new business in front of the board this evening? Mr. Limark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This Saturday from 10 to 2, the Greg Lindmark Foundation will be helping at the home of the Veteran Giveaway Home, doing some construction on chimney and yard work, weather permitting, from 10 to 2 for Laura's Marshmallow Hope. It's a great organization. If anybody needs more information, let me know. Love to see some of the board members there too. Thank you.
That would be wonderful, especially if Mr. McCarthy comes out Saturday morning and helps out. This is a wonderful program.
You could go down the chimney and sweep it out.
Yes.
Before
This is a...
Good job.
So everyone knows, this is the home that the county has donated to Marshmallow Hope and being renovated for the ultimate purpose of a veteran to receive this house for free. So very good program. Any other new business in front of the board? Mr. Penny.
Yeah, I just want to go on record. There's been several resident complaints that I've addressed in the last probably month and a half. I appreciate the staff helping out, connecting dots with getting the right, I guess, municipalities involved. Rockford Township has actually been the bearer of all of these concerns, I'll say. And I do appreciate everybody pitching in, connecting those dots for me and getting these residents taken care of that have reached out with their concerns of various items. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Ms. Fellers?
On that note, I'd also like to commend our staff at the county, especially the Sheriff's Department and our Public Works Department, for their response to the storm damage in my district. It was extensive, and their response was excellent, and I just wanted to thank them for everything they did.
Thank you, Ms. Fellers. Mr. Webster? Well, we got to have announcements and communications. We're getting there. Announcements and communications, Clerk Lori Gummow.
The items listed below are received as correspondence. Thank you very much.
Very good. Any other communications from the board? I would like to have the board recognize Mr. Thompson. It's his birthday today. Yeah.
39.
39.
39.
Mr. Rickert,
magic
you were
number.
wrong. Mr. Rickert had it wrong.
Might have to audit those numbers.
Yeah.
No
It's
audit.
totally
No
wrong.
audit. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do have a motion by Mr. Webster and a second by Mr. Sweeney. Is anybody opposed to the idea of leaving the county boardroom this evening? No? We all in favor of the adjournment, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. All right.
You did good. Yeah, but